In the mid-19th century, a catastrophe struck Ireland, changing the course of its history and leaving deep scars that linger to this day. Known as the Irish Potato Famine, this tragedy unfolded between 1845 and 1852, and its devastating effects are still felt in the collective memory of the Irish people. Begin with imagining this: a country heavily reliant on a single crop, the potato, for its sustenance, and then watching helplessly as this staple food withers away due to a mysterious blight. The blight, caused by a fungus-like organism called Phytophthora infestans, triggered a series of calamitous events. Almost overnight, the potatoes, which fed both humans and livestock, became inedible. This was especially catastrophic, as nearly half of the Irish population depended on potatoes as their primary food source. But this was more than just a natural disaster. It was a crisis of political neglect and systemic failure. While the potato rot was biological, the hunger and misery that followed were exacerbated by the policies of the British government, which ruled Ireland at the time. Ireland's economy was deeply entangled with England's, and unfortunately, the response from the British was marked by a mixture of indifference, economic dogma, and prejudice. Policies were implemented that prioritized trade and economic stability over humanitarian aid. Even when faced with heart-wrenching suffering, food exports from Ireland continued, underlining a grim reality. There was enough food, but it was not reaching those who needed it most. The impact was catastrophic. Over 1 million Irish men, women, and children died from starvation and related diseases. An additional million were forced to flee their homeland, embarking on perilous journeys across the Atlantic to America or to Britain in search of survival and new beginnings. This mass exodus left its mark, significantly reducing Ireland's population, a demographic wound from which it would not recover for more than a century. At its core, the famine exposed the harsh social divides in 19th century Ireland and Britain. The Irish peasantry lived in poverty, at the mercy of landlords who prioritized profits over people's welfare. As the famine worsened, public work projects and soup kitchens were introduced, but these efforts were often too little and too late. The assistance provided was meager, and in many instances came with strings attached, such as compulsory attendance at Protestant religious services, which for many was another form of cultural oppression. The Irish potato famine stands as a powerful reminder of the failures that can result from a lack of empathy and foresight in governance. It wasn't just a natural disaster, but a human one, where economic ideologies overshadowed compassion. Its consequences reached beyond immediate hunger, fueling Irish nationalist movements, altering demographics, and reinforcing the cultural and emotional separation between Ireland and Britain. In remembering this period, we're called to reflect on how intertwined nature and human systems are, and the duty we have to respond to crises with urgency and empathy. The Irish potato famine teaches us about the importance of food security, solidarity, and the profound impact of policy decisions on human lives. Let this not just be a chapter in history, but a lesson for future generations to ensure that such suffering is never repeated.